ASEAN Breakfast Call Dialogue, widening your horizons. Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, welcome back. This is Grace.
And of course, we are featuring a guest for our ABC Dialogue. And today we have Francis Wolf. He is the author of Social Carbon Copy. He's part of the Spunky Funky. It's a punk rock band. And of course, he's a singer-songwriter as well as a rebel. That's what he wants it to be.
That's nice.
That's a long designation.
Yes.
Thank you. A rebel.
So
hello.
I'm a rebel. Oh, hello, hi, good morning.
So in the morning, how would a rebel act like?
Well, I think most rebels are awake in the morning. No, no, but I think most people are rebellious. It's just whether they show it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, do you show it or not?
No, well, I don't know lah. The fact that I'm not usually awake in the morning, maybe I don't know. Rebel. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, rebel.
So, I mean, just a bit of a background of what you do in the past. You were part of this punk band called Spunky Funky.
Yeah.
And you actually wrote a story. I mean, you actually wrote a diary or story, I'm not sure, about it. And it's called Social Carbon Copy.
Yeah. So, Spunky Funky was formed in 2000. So I've been... The brand or name Spunky Funky has been around for quite a while. The book I wrote was actually written by myself about 14 years ago.
The book you wrote was written by yourself.
Yeah,
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So why it's like a third person is because 14 years ago the person you are is not the same person you are now.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So what's really nice about the book, which I think is really nice about this, charming about the book, is the fact that I'm talking to myself 14 years ago, or I'm listening to myself 14 years ago. So, so the book is about my band and how we got denied entry to Australia, and how a year later we picked ourselves up and went on tour to Thailand. It's more like how we recovered from the depression of.
It's not like a vacation or something, right?
Oh my God, no! Everything that could go wrong almost went wrong, and we went on a shoestring budget. But what is nice about it was. Well, like I said, it's listening to somebody 14 years ago tell you about something that you remember in his own way. So a big part of the book is written with his voice. Yeah.
So how is it different when you read your book again, and now and then the reflection that you actually wrote?
When I started working on a book about a year, almost 2 years ago, I was at this big bookstore in KL.
Yeah.
And there was this book I was reading, and it was about this lady who was looking around the house for a particular kind of book. But while looking for that particular book, she found all these other books that she hasn't read yet, and she started reading all these other books. So I thought that was an interesting concept, and I remembered I had a zine that I'd written before. So I went back and read it again, and like I said, it's nice because it feels like a snapshot picture with words. So you get to go back to where you were, the experiences, the feelings. So it was very nice. It's very
so it's more like you're traveling back to the past than how
it
you
was,
were
it was putting yourself back in the past, like revisiting the past. Yeah.
So what was the highlight of writing this book?
The actual writing, actually. The actual writing of the book.
How long it took you?
Well, 12 years ago, it took me a few months to rewrite the book, to do grammar,
Proofreading.
Yeah, proofreading and stuff like that. That took about 6 months still. And when I translated the book, that took 8 months.
That's to Malay.
To
So
Malay.
you have two versions. You have the Social Carbon Copy and Social Carbon Copy edisi bukan bahasa Inggeris.
Yeah, edisi bukan bahasa Inggeris. But the experience actually was the best part is writing the book, because you need to reword things or phrase it differently, or the experience was worthwhile doing it.
So what prompted you to actually want to document the whole thing? Because did you really had a diary back then, like you record back whatever experience
when I first
happened?
left to do the tour, I never left the country before. So I wanted to experience. I wanted to remember everything. So when I bought myself like one of those 30-cent notebooks and started just writing whatever I was feeling.
The 555, is it?
Yeah, the small ones. Yeah. But it turned out that the first time I went on tour, that failed miserably. So the second time to go to Thailand, the book was a little bit of therapy to deal with the depression of flunking out in the first one, but also again to experience the second one in its as much as possible, because I wasn't so sure whether I was going to leave the country again. You know, so those are the days without Asia. You know, leaving the country to go somewhere else was a big deal.
That's true.
Yeah.
Thanks to Tony Fernandez. The irony.
Oh.
The irony.
Yes.
So, tell us more about Spunky Funky. I know it's a punk band, but did you have like a particular aim that you, or a particular branding or image that you wanted when you created this band?
Spunky Funky started off as a few guys who wanted to do good music. We played fast, we played short, and we played quick. But slowly, as the band grew up and progressed, we locked into the more punk rock kind of sound. In fact, we were more comfortable with the punk rock kind of sound. But we started off just a few guys who wanted to have a good time, play some music. Yeah.
So the business side of you wasn't there that much when it comes to
No,
Spunky
when
Funky?
we first started out, it was just we need to do something. I want to write some music. We want to play other people's songs, but we didn't have the talent to play other people's songs. So we would play our own songs or write our own songs so that we can go to the jam studio and play. And that's how things start for most good bands or most bands. Yeah.
Then how about the album release?
The album, the band, you mean?
Yes.
The band released the album in 2000. We had a pretty solid lineup at that point, and we were playing a lot of shows that year. I think we played about 79 shows for a 52-week year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we played 79 shows. We were really grinding it.
So that was your full-time job, I suppose.
Yeah, I actually I used to be a game designer. We used to make games for Game Boy, but I quit the job. I actually quit the job to pursue this music thing, you know. Yeah, so we were playing a lot, doing a lot of traction, and we decided that to release a demo, and the demo got a lot of interest. We were courted by this record label called Positive Tone. We were courted, and we went for a distribution deal instead of a full signing. So basically, Positive Tone distributed us for a while, and that was I think that was when the band really took off. We played a lot of shows. We got a lot of recognition. That was the most pop the band's ever been.
But then suddenly the band disappeared.
Yeah, and why the band disappeared is pretty much why the book came out, because we did about 79 shows, and then I was thinking tonight a good way to wrap up the 79 with that very heavy year was to go to tour Australia, because I realized, or I found out, that there were no Malaysian bands at that time touring outside Malaysia. Everybody was doing it in Malaysia. There were no bands. We heard that the Strollers went to France. We heard that one or two bands left. I think Wings or Search left for Albert Hall or something. They played one or two shows, but nobody went on tour, like 4 or 5 shows, like a proper tour. So I thought, that'd be a great way to do it. But unfortunately, just as we were planning the Australian tour, that lineup of the band disintegrated.
I see.
Yeah.
And what was the reason?
Oh, that's personal reasons. As with anything, a band is like a family, and you will have personal issues, and sometimes you can't help it. You just can't help it.
But was it a build-up because of the intense performing schedules that you guys had?
Maybe, I'm not so sure. Maybe. But I think if anything, the pull of normal life gets to you, gets to any band. Because in Malaysia it's very difficult to do music full time. People either don't pay you enough, or there's not enough avenues to do it, especially like 15 years ago. So everyday pressures pull the band apart, I guess.
So this book is all about how you actually view the world, and also
the book is actually they call it a rocker journal. So it's like a journal about a rock band, but it just so happened to talk about us touring outside Malaysia.
Yep.
Just at the point when the band not died, but disintegrated into almost nothing.
I see. So did you guys manage to do it? To perform in Australia at the time?
No, that you have to read the book, but
that's the suspense part.
Yeah, the spoiler part.
Mystery.
But the fun, the interesting bit was we actually had people who was going to help us in Australia. So although we were missing one component from the band, because Spunky Funk is a 3-piece band, so when you remove one person, it's a big chunk. But when
you say 3-piece band, meaning
that means there are only 3 people in the band.
Oh.
One guy plays the drums, one guy plays the bass guitar, and one guy plays does all the guitar
so
work.
when one leaves, it's pretty prominent
Yeah,
to notice.
when one leaves, unless you're doing power violence, and when one leaves, it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
So, but we had people in Australia, locals in Australia, and students living in Australia who were going to help us out while we're on tour.
And so like they're going to replace the person who
just stand in. But like I said, read the book. We'll tell you what happened, whether if we did arrive or not. In Australia.
So what happened in or what kind of reflection that happened when you were in Thailand? Because that was the moment where you guys started to discover or rediscover back yourself.
The thing is, because of the huge disappointment in Australia, it was hugely disappointing because we didn't get to do what we were supposed to do in Australia. So when we came back, I personally was hit by massive depression, which pretty much led to dark rooms and candles and not eating, and but
gothic music. Just kidding.
No, learning the names of all the cockroaches in your house, But why was the Thailand story important? Because Thailand showed me that despite what was going on, you got to get up and do your thing. Because, like spoiler alert, we didn't actually go to Australia. We didn't get to go to Australia. We arrived in Brisbane, and we were turned away at the airport. So at that point, I had sold my washing machine. I had sold all my records, my comic books, just to get enough money to go. Because, again, back then, a ticket was not cheap to Australia.
Like now, right?
Now it's cheap.
Way cheaper.
Yeah.
Yes.
So back then I had to sell my music, my CD. But when you get there and then you are denied entry, and then you come back here, and then there's no electricity in your house. You hit rock bottom. That's why the Thailand part of the book is brilliant, because it tells you that no matter how bad things are, you just got to get up and do it again. And we did it exactly a year, because we left for Australia in August 2000, and we toured Thailand August 2001. Yeah.
So basically, how the younger generation of today can really relate to your book, because I'm sure there's a lot of young up and coming artists or singers.
The Malaysian music scene is new. It's young.
Even after 10 years, 20
No, the Malaysian
years.
music scene is young. It's young. I mean young, not... we got bands that have been around for 30... Search just celebrated their 30th anniversary, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. But essentially the Malaysian music scene is young. Young in the way they think. So only now we have bands leaving the country. Only now we have bands doing... their work overseas. Like, I'll mix my album overseas, or I'll record overseas, but a scene needs components. So you need music literature from your scene. Like the Malaysian music scene right now has a lot of music, so you don't have literature about the music scene. So as a musician in Kuala Kangsar, for example, right, you don't have anybody else to ask about what to do next or the experiences. So a book helps. A book helps, you know. There are other punk rockers who are writing books about their bands and their experiences, like Nizang, you know, of like Dum Dum Ta, who released this book called Aksi Reaksi. And that is important because it means that the scene is growing up. A scene needs the music, it needs its literature, it needs its support system. So, and social carbon copy is just, although frivolous to a certain degree, one a component for the younger musicians to read, to know that, you know, sometimes it's hard, but you're not alone. Somebody else has done it, or somebody else is doing it.
You can actually learn from the past. What
You
happened.
you learn from somebody else's mistakes, yeah, and you know that you're not alone, more or less. Yeah, because doing music is a, although it's a popularity run for some people. Most of the time, music is the most loneliest thing you can do, and which is like writing, a lonely thing you can do. Yeah.
Sounds very inspiring. Your story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
When it comes to your story, I mean your music, your performance, and everything you did in the past. Besides the difference in terms of the airfare of between Asia today and also whatever flight you took to Australia at that time, what else that are significantly different?
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
When it comes to the music scene.
I wouldn't be able to comment extensively on the huge mainstream scene because I'm sure they had their components ready. But I can comment on the independent scene perhaps, or the underground scene. For one thing, it seems that bands now are more affluent. You know, when you go to a show, bands have their own guitars. You know, when we first started doing our thing, we actually went to shows where there was only 3 guitars for 6 bands. So after you play, you know, you would pass it to the next guy, and the next guy would play it. You know, bands didn't have their own drumsticks, so they'll wait for the other guy to finish playing the drums, and then they'll take the drumsticks. So in terms of affluency, now when I go to shows, I see guys with like, you know, really expensive guitars and this board of
Pedal
like
board of a lot of effects.
pedals and stuff like that, you know. And you see, you know, people bringing their own snares and their own cymbals. So in that sense, that's a big difference. More affluent. Back then, people would share a guitar.
So are you saying that? I mean, sorry to interrupt, but are you saying that the music scenes have moved from, you know, a scene that caters towards the middle income to lower middle income to somewhere is for the middle income to upper middle income sort of social class?
That's actually a whole different topic on its own itself. But just very quickly, I think, like I said, I'm commenting only on the underground and independent scene. The independent underground scene was a reaction to the mainstream scene. So, as far as I can tell, when I was younger doing music, if you did the mainstream thing, everything was provided for you. So you'd go to a show, and you have your guitars. You know, people would give you money to buy your guitars. But when you're doing underground scene, you wasn't, because essentially all the underground bands and all the DIY bands were pretty much working class bands from a working class background who wanted to do music, but they couldn't afford it. You know, so we'd attack the practice studios and rehearsal studios every night. And even the shows that we were doing felt like, you know, you come watch my band, I'll come watch your band. Then when you're practicing, I'll come watch your... And that's why independent bands that started out back in the day all have huge followings now. Because back when they were starting, or we were studying, there weren't that many people doing it. Now it's different. Now every week there's a new band. Every week there's somebody who's got a new gimmick or a new sound. But back then there wasn't much you could do. I mean, the Boss pedal, you know, the Boss distortion pedal was it. you know, everything ran on pure heart and pure spirit. Because again, it was a reaction to the mainstream music that was going on.
But nowadays, everyone wants to go mainstream. I mean, I suppose from an
I don't,
outsider.
not everybody. I think some of the best bands in Malaysia are not haven't been touched by the mainstream scene. Bands like Sergeant Hassan, you know, they haven't been touched by the mainstream because I think the coming of the new underground is coming. It's here. There was a time over the last 10, 15 years where the word underground was such a dirty word. Such a dirty word. People don't want to say it. But I think the new underground is here. Bands which are changing the way you look at music. Bands which are brave. Bands which are gutsy. But you never hear about them. They play the underground shows at underground spots like Bitnik and Rumapi, you know. And they got a huge following. They've got bigger followings than some bands who are supposedly big, you know. But also now there are more festivals, there are more opportunities to play. That's the other difference. More opportunities to play. So now it seems like every week there's a fest, vintage fest. There's a band fest and a tempat. There are lots of fests. So because of that, bands get a chance to play. Back 15 years ago, or 17 years ago, there'll be 2 underground shows a year. So if let's say I'm invited to play for a show, I'll tell you, hey, I've got a show in June, and it's January. Would you come for my show? And I'll promote the June show for months. Now you get bands who have a show next Tuesday.
And you put it on Facebook.
Yeah. Facebook, social media.
I think that's one of the main huge difference that you'll say from back, because back those days, the promotion wise, marketing wise, you didn't have a much platform to promote the band unless you just go in the personal touch to.
I think Facebook,
social media in general.
Yeah, social media in general helps, but I think promotion back using flyering, because back then we used to make flyers and just go out to the street. I think that's more successful than social media.
Yeah,
I think it's also because there's more human touch or loyalty.
Yes, no. You also, when you go back home, you have a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And it's like, it says, so and so band is playing on so team, and you take it, you put it on your fridge, or you put it on your wall, and then you wait for it.
Yeah.
Now, because there's no flyers or no posters, unless it's a big, you don't wait for anything. You just switch on your social media platform and wonder, hey, is there an event today? Am I going to go for it or not? Yeah. I think flyering works, and I, you know what? To be honest, and I'm going to step on some toes here. I think that's why some shows are more successful than others. Is when you go on the street and you do a street promo. Because not everybody's going to be in your circle, your social media circle, and by flyering you actually get to people you've never thought would come, and that's how the independent scene built itself. We would stand in the bus stand, or we would go to like Central Market, and we'll see a guy who's wearing let's say he's wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt, or he's wearing a rock t-shirt, and we'll just give him a flyer. Say, hey, there's a show, next month, or and the guy will pick it up. I don't know who he is, but when he turns up, he changes the way he looks at music.
And he'll probably tell 10 of his friends.
Yeah, and they'll turn up, and it'll be a big party. That's why gigs back in the day were not promoted by or sponsored by big companies, but we had a lot of people coming.
You don't have the Guinness amplified
to
sponsor you.
I'm not gonna say.
Anyway, we'll take a short break. When we return, we will discuss more about your book, Social Carbon Copy.
Okay.
ASEAN Breakfast Call Dialogue, widening your horizons. Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Grace.
And we are continuing our discussion with the author of Social Carbon Copy, a member of Spunky Funky, singer-songwriter, and also a self-proclaimed a rebel.
I love the self-proclaimed. Yes, self-proclaimed. Okay, can.
So hi, Francis Wu.
Hello.
So talking about your book, Social Carbon Copy.
Yeah.
When did you actually launch this book?
Social Carbon Copy was launched a year ago. The edisi Bukan Bahasa Inggris was released at KL Zine Fest this year in October.
Was it a challenge because it took you quite a while, probably a decade, if I can like just collectively recount the time you spent on this book?
To get the Social Carbon Copy from its zine format to book format was not very difficult because I already had written the book, written it in zine format. So it was just a matter of doing introduction and doing an ending and working on the text inside in between. The Malay book, on the other hand, took 8 months to translate.
And you do it yourself?
Yeah, I translated the book myself.
How did you do it?
Initially, what I wanted to do was just take the whole book, put it to Google Translate, and just click translate. But
all the weird
yeah,
sentence would come out.
Firstly, you can't do that. You
Of
can't do
course.
that. Secondly, I thought of like passing the book to somebody else, let the other person translate it. But I also realized you can't do that either.
Because they might not know the real
Yeah,
meaning
they don't know
of
exactly what you're trying to say,
yeah.
the feelings you're trying to convey. So for 8 months, I had to rewire my mind to think.
Your language
Yeah,
side
to,
of
yeah, to
your
read,
thinking.
to write in Malay. That's why the book is called Edisi Bukan Bahasa Inggris because I don't think the Malay in the book would be accepted by Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka lah.
Why?
Because it's all over the place. It's an attempt for a non-native speaker to speak or to write in.
Probably you should give this to Dewan Bahasa and
Oh my
Pusaka
goodness, no!
and see whether they will accept it or not.
I call the kind of writing I do for this book as tulisan bersahaja lah,
Oh, okay.
which is basically like just casual writing.
You were not inspired by Fixie, right?
No, not the thing is why I need to release the book in Malay is because when the English book came out, a lot of people pick up the book, and I'll see them flip the few pages, and they put the book down. So I wonder why were they doing that? And then I realized later, although you went through the Malaysian education system and you do know English, but you prefer to read in Malay. So I thought to myself, it's either I be arrogant about it and just leave it in English, or translate it because there is some information in there which I can share, and I wouldn't trust the translation with somebody else. So I spent 8 months behind the keyboard working on the book, and
the Malay version, interestingly, is your bestseller compared to the English one.
actually they're both selling pretty well. They're both selling pretty well, and that's because of the local distros, who, if anything, make the book what it is lah. The distros I'm using are like the underground distros and independent bookstores. The book is not available in MPH or Kino or Borders.
Why? That's so sad.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's because we're an independent publisher. But what's really, really nice is the good people at like Silverfish Books or Gerak Budaya or Texteka, they take a chance with a book like this. Because we're not exactly a big. I'm not a famous writer. Neither is the publishing house a big brand.
Do you distribute this online?
At the moment, I leave all of that to the underground distros. The Malaysian independent publishing scene took a boom, man, over the last couple of years. But more importantly for me, the Malaysian book distribution scene is big. You got like DDT Distro, you got like Lot Buku, you got like 365 Distro, which are basically punk underground book distros who help push my book. And it's because of people like this, the book sells quite well. And for me, for the moment, I'd rather share the wealth of the book with the distros first, So if let's say you want to buy a book from me, I'll refer you to the local distros, because I think support your local distro lah. That's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So out of this book, what do you expect? I mean, the kind of things that you want to impart to the younger generation today. I know you're not old yet, but
no, I'm not. I'm not old by any degree.
But you've been in the scene long enough to really know how it is, you know, how hard it is.
The book is some people say short sendiri lah, but actually there's stuff in the book which you can learn. But I think more importantly, it's the experience. You can't replicate an experience like that. So you read it, you go through it yourself with me in the book, and if you come away with it with a smile, then I've done my job.
Mm-hmm.
It's not supposed to be preachy. It's very, very easy reading. Yeah, in fact, it's so easy. 3-4 hours, you're done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about you yourself.
Okay.
So now, are you still part of Spunky Funky?
Yes.
And
Spunky Funky, as long as I think
are the band members still the same?
No. The band members are now older. The band that became famous during that time when we were the most pop. They've all gotten married and they have all moved into their family lives.
As in, like, they also have boring, like, 9-to-5 jobs. They
have jobs. I'm sure they're happy with their jobs.
So
but
you are different.
Well, wait till the end of the month. But essentially, the band's changed lineups so many times. We've been trying to hold down a solid lineup, but it's partly because as the older you get, the harder it is to find people who play music or play the kind of music you want to play, or are coming from the same angle you're coming from. But that will not stop me. I think we should have a new release soon. Mm-hmm. I've been saying that for years, and part of the reasons why I did my solo thing is because it was difficult putting a band together. Yeah.
So right now, do you do performance either via Spunky Funky or yourself?
Yeah. At the moment, I perform as Francis Wolf. I also busk as Francis Wolf. So I do contractual stints. So for example, it's either I play at a cafe regularly. That means they give me a slot, 1 or 2 slots a month. Like I play at Fika, so Fika gives me like 2 slots a month for me to play. I play on the street now, and I play at shows where I'm invited to play. Yeah.
So what's your message when it comes to music?
Message?
Yeah.
Play.
Do you play your originals, or you just simply perform because you want to just perform?
I used to be the kind of guy who despised doing covers because you just do your original stuff.
Yeah.
But I think I'm beginning to split myself. And my mitosis got away. When you're playing a show that has your name on the flyer, you play original stuff. You play original stuff because that's what people are coming to watch to play. But when you're playing in the street, I tend to favor playing more cover songs because essentially you're trying to get some tips. You slot your own music in there, yeah. But if you're out there and you're not earning on that time when you're on the street, then why are you on the street? People unfortunately will tip you for songs they know. So if let's say you're playing, let's just say Creep, Radiohead's Creep, which is so old, but if you play it and somebody's passing by and they hear it and they like it and they know it, you're gonna get a tip.
It is something that people can relate themselves to. But what are your favorite cover songs so far?
Oh no, I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not even gonna go there. You know why? Because I actually on my playlist, I cover everything from Lionel Richie, all the way to
One
Guns N'
Direction.
Roses, to I do some new stuff. In fact, right now I'm learning how to do music by people like Sam Smith.
So sweet.
It's something to do.
But sometimes you
earn the
can
tip.
improvise, things
Yeah,
that
of
are
course you improvise.
original.
But the thing is, you play more covers when you're playing on the street. I try to slot, and why it's kind of good is because once you played somebody else's songs, you realize where your songwriting is, and like, wow, that's a great song. Why are my songs like this? Or you get to put your songs back to back. So sometimes I'll play a famous song like the Verve's "Drug Don't Work," right? And then I play one of my own, and I see people still stand, and they'll ask me later, "Is that your own?" I say yes, and that's a great way to pull people in. So I used to be a person who didn't like covers, but I can see where it works, like, especially if you're on the street. Yeah.
As long as it's not One Direction. Or you can improvise.
It's not gonna go there.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah. There are certain songs I will not do. I will not do. Yeah.
Well, how do you see yourself now compared to all those back in 10 years ago when you're active in the fungi, and then now you're performing independently? So do you see yourself as a performer that you've grown a lot from there? And then if even in terms of performance-ship, it will be different from And
Yeah. When we did Spunky Funky, but all that time ago, it was punk rock. So we would, the band would turn up. We'll just plug in and 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll play the songs. It's loud. It's loud. And the drummers behind drumming away. The bass is pumping. It's loud, and we get the crowd to mosh or pogo. Now, I only have one acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
So it's quieter. It's people listen to exactly to what you're doing.
Mellower.
No, I wouldn't say mellow, but it's the people are listening to what you're doing.
Yeah.
So the experience is different. In terms of growing up as a musician, yeah, I think I have. Back when I was first starting out, I didn't own a guitar. Now I've got a mic stand, a mic. I've got my.
So you have your own equipment.
Yeah, I got my own gear now,
Yes.
I'm ready to go. When I first started, like I said, no guitar. I couldn't even. In fact, the big joke was when Spunky was we just released our demo. I had trouble tuning my guitar because I wasn't so sure how to tune my guitar.
Yeah.
But now it's different. Now I'm trying out chords like I've never tried before. Previously it was you bar chord everything. You played really loud, right? Now you're learning the beauty of the different chords. Yeah.
And so, do you also use YouTube as your teacher?
Well, I use YouTube as a tool to watch things that I couldn't get to watch. Like when you were growing up, you hear when we grew up, and when I grew up, you'd read about the band.
Yeah.
So this band blah 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 blah, they play blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
You never heard about them. So now what I use YouTube for is to
revisit back.
Yeah, like
past.
Gangrene. Who's Gangrene? So you go and you put on Gangrene, you listen to Gangrene, or for bands that you actually collected, like Echo and the Bunnymen,
Yeah.
or Jesus and Mary Chain. Now you get to go back and watch their live shows. You know what I mean?
It's much easier, right?
Yeah, no, but it's easy access now.
Yeah.
That's for me. That's where YouTube is awesome. Plus, YouTube also has a lot of guys who do documentaries. I'm in love with documentaries, so it's a great
You can
resource.
find almost everything there.
Almost. Yeah. Almost.
What about the punk scene? Has it changed a lot since
Yes.
the beginning that
Yes.
you
Yeah.
were
I think
involved?
I think the Malaysian punk scene is growing out. It's growing out. When things were started, it was a whole bunch of like-minded individuals who believed in either a DIY ethic or a punk ethic. But now, many years later, 2014, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. We have, like I said earlier, we have the punk distros, punk bookstores. We have punk distros which distribute punk music. We have punk record stores like Rumah Api and Tandang Store who bring in vinyl and support the local music scene and do vinyl. We have local spots like Bitnik and Rumah Api, who support local shows like The Wall in Batu Pahat, who do shows for touring bands. Now, like never before, we have bands coming in from overseas, and when a band comes to Malaysia, there are places to play.
Yep.
We have we have people doing silk screen t-shirts. So there's actually an industry there. People making t-shirts. We have now in KL a movement doing guerrilla gardening.
Oh yeah.
Which is very punk. Food not bombs is still a thing. So feeding the poor via ethically, or I would call ethically, things like that. It's the punk scene now is grown up. It's really grown up, and it's natural. It means that not just the scene is stronger, but the scene is maturing.
But has the scene been more political?
Oh yes, the punk scene has always been political. Even if you got your yellow mohawk and your studded leather jacket and you are being political. Whether you're partisan or non-partisan. Yeah.
So that's all for our show today. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.